El Suelófono, el primer podcast de las Ciencias del Suelo en español, realizado por el proyecto Suelox con el apoyo del Instituto de Geología de la UNAM y de la Unión Internacional de las Ciencias del Suelo.
Hello everyone, welcome again to the Suelófono, el primer podcast de suelos en español. But in this occasion, we have a special episode totally in English. My name is Axel Cerón, and currently I'm the Youth Vice Commissioner within the Mexican Soil Science Society. Furthermore, I am performing my Erasmus Mundus Master in Soil Science under the support of the European Union. Our special guest comes from the United States, John Galbraith. Was born in San Antonio, Texas, and he got his bachelor and master in science from the Texas Tech University. After that, he got his PhD from the Cornell University, and at present, he is professor of the Virginia Tech and adjunct faculty of the University of Alaska Fairbanks. His expertise is based on wetland soils, soil genesis and classification, but we want to highlight his participation in the 3 international soil judging contests. Welcome, Professor John, and thank you so much for supporting our project, the Suelófono.
Thank you, Axel. Very pleased. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So if you want to, maybe we can start with the questions.
Yes, I'd be glad to.
First of all, among our last Suelófonos, we have explained several times what the soils are. But I think this will be the first time that we use the word evaluation. Mm-hmm. What actually evaluation means? Specifically, what is soil evaluation?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very good question. So we use a word called interpretation to explain what evaluation is. So we look at the soil properties and we try to decide how that soil is going to behave for various purposes. In other words, how good would it be for cropland? How good would it be for building buildings or building streets or roads or things like that? And so evaluation to us means to look at the properties and then decide and explain to people how the soil would act.
Okay. So we can say there are different ways to evaluate soils, right? Absolutely,
yes, there are. And one way is to evaluate the physical properties of the soil, such as the texture or the structure. Another way would be to evaluate the moisture content of the soil. Another way would be to evaluate the chemistry of the soil. And for each one of these different evaluations would relate then to what recommendation you would make to the users of the land. If it was a farmer, you might make one recommendation. If it was a house developer or an engineer, something different.
Okay. You think that soil evaluation is important for today's world?
Well, I do, because, for example, today we are very concerned about the health of the soil and the quality of the soil. And so we want to, if you can evaluate the soil properly, and that includes describing the properties and measuring the properties, then you can see whether the soil is improving in quality or losing quality. And if it's losing quality, then you maybe have to change your management to preserve the quality of the soil. And in fact, some soils that were of poor quality before, maybe we can improve their qualities and the health of not just of the soil, but the health of the organisms that live in the soil and on the soil, such as plants and microbes. So I think it's a very important thing. And it also, for all people, whether they're soil scientists or not, they really need to understand that we need to protect soil as our basic and most important natural resource. So evaluating that is critical.
Okay. And for young people, you think that is important? I mean, that or the young people learn how to evaluate soils?
I think so, because it's really the basis of our future. If we have a high quality of soil and we manage it properly, then we can build sustainable cities, sustainable road systems, and sustainable agriculture. So I think it's just essential for people to be able to understand it, whether they are the person evaluating the soil as a scientist or whether they were the person receiving the information about the soil and the ecosystem. I think it all starts with evaluation.
Totally agree, Doctor. And actually, I want to go deeper to the soil judging contest. What it means? I mean, what is a soil judging contest?
Well, it's a time when we take students or adults and we go to a particular soil area and we start by describing the different layers, the horizons. We record the colors and the texture and what the shape of the aggregates are. And then we evaluate whether there's a water table there. We also look at some of the site properties like the slope of the land and maybe the type of geologic material that the soil formed from. And then we talk about runoff and erosion and things like that would be important. Then we classify the soil. And when we're done, the last thing we do is we do very specific evaluations, maybe for vineyards or growing corn or something else, maybe building a building. And so we ask the students to provide their best answer, and then we match those up with the local experts and see how closely the students evaluated it to the local experts. And if they evaluated it the same way the experts did, then they get a very high score. And if not, then they learn what is different. And so it's a learning process no matter how good your score is. But at the end of the day, we compare the scores of the students, and some are better and some not so much, but everyone learns and everybody enjoys the day.
Actually, it's a good way for learning how to evaluate soils.
I think it is because it's hands-on. Everybody gets to touch the soil. Everybody gets to look at the soil and get samples out. And again, they make their best guess, and then they get the answers. And so they say, oh, I see what I need to correct, or that's something new that I just now came to understand. So it's a good learning method.
In the last years, the United States, as you know, has won the International Soil Judging Contest. Why, Professor John? Well, what is the key for teaching young people how to evaluate soils?
Well, I think the key really for teaching it is to make it fun, and to teach the students not just the correct way, the correct methods to evaluate the color and the structure and the consistency, but also to tell them why it's important to them. So to explain what the color means, the significance, or what the significance of the chemistry or the runoff potential or erosion potential is, and to make it important and meaningful to them so that they learn as much as they can. And again, at the end of the day, you're teaching students how to look at the land with new eyes, yes, so that they can go forth after the contest and they've learned skills that they can keep the rest of their life, no matter what profession they go into, no matter where they live. So I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, I think the International Soil Judging Contests are a good platform for learning the soil science, soil genesis, soil classification, and also soil evaluation.
That's right.
Why it's important for young people to participate in this kind of platforms, particularly in the next International Soil Judging Contest that will be held the next August in Glasgow?
That's right. Well, I think the benefits of going to an international contest like that for students is, first, they get to meet new friends, yes, make new friends. They get to meet other people that have the same interests that they have. And so that they find out that they're not the only person that maybe enjoys looking at soil or geology and studying rocks. But it's that they get to learn about different cultures. People ask questions about other countries, so they learn about the world. But more importantly, they learn that basically we're all alike. It's interesting to learn about the different cultures and to share information about our own culture, but at the end of the day, they realize how similar we all are.
I want to say I'm fascinated about the way how you measure the percentage of soil particles by hand. I mean, you have, I don't know, it's fascinating. And you have taught me this technique twice. The first one was in 2018 in Rio de Janeiro in the last International Soil Judging Contest, and also the last week during the field workshop of the 6th International Soil Classification Congress here in Mexico. And can you explain us how to do it? How you do it?
Okay. Well, first I start with a small handful of soil, and I moisten it up and then mix it and blend it together until it's more like silly putty or Play-Doh or some type of dough. And then I squeeze it between my fingers and try to make a ribbon. I try to push it out. And then the longer the ribbon is an indicator of how much clay there is. So I see how long the ribbon goes out before it bends. And then I take the measurement of that length, whatever it is, and I multiply by 10 times the number of inches, or for every 2.5 centimeters is another 10% clay.
Okay.
So if I had 5 centimeters, it would be 20% clay. And that gives me the clay content. Then I must get the sand content. So I take 2 little small pieces, very small, as I showed you the other day, and and they're both the exact same size. On one of the pieces, I add water and I rub it until all of the silt and clay are rubbed off and only the sand is left. And I pour off the water, and then I compare the pile of sand that's left, the size of that pile to the size of the original. And that way I can see if it compares. If they're about half the size, then it's 50% sand. If it's a fourth of the size, it's 25% sand. And then with the clay content and the sand content, I can determine the texture.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's like playing with soil.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because once you uncover the sand grains, they're different colors, they're different shapes and sizes, and that can teach you a lot about how the soil formed, where it came from, what the parent material was.
International Soil Judging Contest. Desde 2014, a nivel mundial, se han llevado a cabo los concursos internacionales de evaluación de suelos. En el marco del 22º Congreso de la Ciencia del Suelo a realizarse en agosto de 2022 en Glasgow, Escocia, se llevará a cabo la 4ª edición de estos concursos. Te invitamos a participar y estar atento a futuras oportunidades para representar a los países hispanos en este tipo de plataformas para el Congreso de la Ciencia del Suelo en español.
Professor John, if I want to produce my own vegetables in my garden, what are the features that I have to put more attention during I am evaluating my soil? Actually, if I want to build a greenhouse in my yard, what could be the recommendation for my soil?
So I would first go to take a look at the soil in the yard. In other words, I would recommend whoever wants to grow vegetables there, first to see how soft the topsoil is and how dark it is. So I would first, the darker the color, the better, and the softer the soil, the better. And if the soil is especially hard when it's dry, then I would make sure that you could loosen it before you began to plant vegetables there. Make sure that you would save enough rainwater, maybe from running off the roof, capture some rainwater so that you could water it. And you would want to be careful that the soil doesn't have too much salt in it, because if it has salts, the vegetables are very sensitive to salt content and they don't grow very well in those conditions. So look for salt, look for soft nature of the topsoil, and then look for dark colors at the top.
Also, can I do like different evaluations of my soil for different kind of vegetables?
You could. So for instance, peppers and tomatoes would like full sunlight. And then for the soils, the the soils that are very hard, maybe you would not want to plant potato, onion, or garlic, because those grow under the ground, and in a hard soil they would not grow very well. So you would want to plant plants then that have fruit that's above the ground: cucumber, peppers, tomatoes, green beans,
Okay.
things like that.
Let's suppose that I already evaluated my soil in my chart. So, and I got pretty bad conditions of my soil. There's something that I can do without that soil for producing vegetables?
There is, especially in a small scale. So in a small 3 meters by 3 meters garden, if it is too clayey, and remember the test for clay is make a ball and see how long the ribbon goes. And if it's too clayey, you can add some sand. If it is too light in color, you can add manure or leaves or organic matter. This could be compost and anything like that, yard scraps, kitchen waste. Save your eggs, save the eggshells, save the vegetable parts, put it in a pile, let it rot down into dark material, add that to the garden every single year. Those would be ways to make the soil better, and then to loosen it if it's too hard so that the water can go through it easier. So I think you can always improve your soil, yes.
Yeah, it could be. Actually, you talked me about your own soil, and also you have like a tunnel in Virginia, right?
That's right.
Can you tell me again a little bit more of that tunnel?
Yes. So in Virginia, as opposed to here, we don't have as long of a growing season or as much sunlight. So there we build a shelter, a tunnel, and we plant vegetables on the inside, and we irrigate with through the black plastic tubes. And there we trap the heat and trap the sunshine so that we can grow tomato and pepper better. Now we can grow them outside, but they're very small. When you grow them in a high tunnel, it traps the heat and they get much larger and they grow longer. But we have to be careful on those situations because when you add fertilizer, it turns into salt. And remember, the vegetables are very sensitive to salt. So we would try to add our fertilizer would be manure rather than crystals of fertilizer that you would buy at a store.
Yeah, and I can say that those vegetables could be healthier than the ones that you can get in the markets, right?
Well, at least as healthy. Yes, that's right, because you can control whether they've been sprayed. And sometimes when they grow vegetables in large areas, they use chemicals to kill the insects or the microbes. And they spray so much that sometimes the spray doesn't get washed off the vegetables, so they're not quite as healthy for you. Probably the best is to grow them outside in the sunshine in your yard. But if you can't do that, then growing them in a small greenhouse allows you to grow them all year long.
Yeah, so if you protect your soil that you have in your garden, maybe you are also protecting yourself.
That's right. You are, and you're producing food that's very healthy for you and your family. And again, you can improve your soil every year. It's like a bank account. If you want to make your soil healthier and better quality, you invest in it. So you return the uneaten plant parts back to the soil so that you're making it rich. You borrow the vegetables, so you return that with the plant parts. And every year make the soil better.
Thank you so much, Professor. I really enjoyed this interview, and thank you so much. And you are welcome to our country, Mexico. And again, thank you so much for supporting us in this project.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure to be here in Mexico, and the hospitality and the generosity and the family atmosphere of all of the hosts of the trip that we've been on, plus being able to see the villages and the beautiful people and the beautiful houses. And it's just a beautiful countryside, and I know you're very proud of your people and your country, and you should be.
Yeah,
And it's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much.